Is Zyon Grand going to be a good buy or bye-bye? Hello everyone, I'm Ryan.
Hi, I'm Jaylene.
And after seeing a strong performance in River Green as well as PP63, the biggest question is, will Zyon Grand be another sell? Or are the buyers already facing burning out from all the launches in the central area? Why is it important for you to know this is because after watching our analysis, you will be able to differentiate Zyon Grand apart from all the rest of the central region. Without further ado, let's start.
So first to run through is the location for this Zyon Grand. You can see over here, this dark blue color is the exact location for Zyon Grand. It's a prime address at the central part of River Valley. So you can see downstairs at doorstep, it actually is the MRT already. It's Havelock MRT, which just one stop away from the Great Wall City. Key thing for this development is this is an integrated development, which means the restaurant, shop, and childcare are under your unit. Let me run into details for this project. This project will be by CDL, joint venture with Misui Fudosan. Total, there is 3 blocks. 2 blocks are 62-story residential, and the other one tower, this one is purely service apartment, which is 36-story high. So the location is located at Kim Seng Road. Key thing is for this piece of land is 164k square feet, which is approximately 2.5 football field, which is considered quite big in this area. Total unit depth 706 unit with 373 service apartment.
To add on, I heard that the contractor for Zyon Grand, right, is going to be the one that built Disneyland. So it's going to be very interesting because this contractor has already gotten so many successful track record. I'm anticipating to see what he can bring to Grand Zyon.
Come back to the fact sheet of this project. So total there is 595 car park lots. This is about 80% of total units, despite it's just above the MRT station, which is quite attractive. Today we will run our video differently. We will start with the most common topic that people discuss for Zyon Grand. We will cover oversupply in this area. Service apartment, is it a big concern for landlord in this development in the future? The last thing is, because this piece of land buy very cheap, is this land going to sell cheap? Without further ado, let's jump into the first topic. Oversupply always a concern for most of the buyers in this area. So Ryan, what do you think about this?
Okay, so first off, I really want to acknowledge the fact that over here, right, there are really many condos that is brewing up in this area. Just alone in this area, right, you can see that recently we had 3 major launches, which is River Green, Promenade Peak, and Opus. Zyon Grand will be the next one. But what's interesting is that moving forward, right, other than Zyon Grand, there's still River Modern as well as one more plot that's being up for tender right now, which is River Valley Parcel C. So all in all, right, just alone in this River Valley Zyon area, we are seeing almost 3,000 units coming up this area. What does it mean for the audience over here? I just want to acknowledge the fact that definitely here there's an oversupply issue. But of course, oversupply can be seen as an opportunity. Why do I say so? Because when there's an oversupply, it also means that it's a chance that the buyers will be able to buy a unit over here cheap. Because today, when there's an oversupply, developer will also feel very stressed. And when developer is very stressed, right, naturally, they will price the unit much more sensitive. If they don't, then easily, I believe that the developer will be helping other developers to do sales, especially for PP63. I still understand that there's still a good amount of units to choose from. Therefore, for CDL, right, they have to really play very smart in this game to make Zyon Grand a successful one. Next, I also want to talk a little bit about visibility and why is it so important to be visible for Grand Zyon. Later, I'll talk more. So personally, for me, oversupply, I break down into 2 categories. One type of oversupply is within the development itself. There has already been a lot of units. I give you an example. For a previous launch in Tampines, right, called Treasure at Tampines, within the condo itself, there is already 2,200 units. So buyers here who wants to buy Treasure have this behavior. Why we know is because we have served buyers like this before, and what they usually do is they will compare against the layout and facing, and thereafter buy something that is of a cheaper value. Usually the cheaper units will start to move first. However, the River Valley type of oversupply is different because we are going to see plot A, plot B, plot C, D, E coming up. So Different developer will have different concept and therefore build different layout that best suits the consumer's choice. So today, right now, we're going to determine whether is Grand Zyon going to be the project A in everybody's mind so that people will never forget Grand Zyon. So to have the X factor, we must have the visibility that I've mentioned earlier. So let's see whether Grand Zyon actually have the visibility. You can see that Grand Zyon is located at this triangular plot of land. And what's interesting is that it is surrounded by 3 main roads. It means that every time you come River Valley, it is very hard not to notice Zyon Grand. And you take a look at the recent launch at Promenade Peak. Not say it is not good, but you can see it is only surrounded by 2 main roads. Okay, so in terms of visibility, I would say it is a little bit poorer than what Zyon Grand has. And of course, if you talk about River Green, this one is tucked into a corner. To me, the visibility for River Green is the poorest. Why I say visibility is important? For example, Jaylin, I ask you, today if you are in Orchard, what captures your mind most when you are driving around? Where is your go-to place for shopping?
Usually we'll go to Ion Taka.
Correct. So you can see that in your mind, Ion is always your go-to place. Ion, right, also have similar visibility like Grand Zyon is going to have. You will see that here you have 3 main roads that is surrounding Ion. It is very hard not to notice Ion when you are driving around Orchard. Of course, MRT, all these are additional attributes. But same thing for Grand Zyon. Today, if you are driving around River Valley with these 3 main roads, it is also very hard to not notice Zyon Grand. And that's what we are referring to. So Jaylin, do you know where is the Scape?
I don't know.
So for the Scape, personally, I know it is in Orchard and I only use this place for cheap car park. So meaning to say, if your visibility is not so good, you need additional attribute to boost up its visibility. Okay, so why visibility is so important in selecting a project is because today if you keep seeing the same project, it creates an everlasting memory. Like for example, today if I'm in Orchard, I want to go shopping, I will go to Ion Orchard. Consumers, when they keep seeing the same thing, it is likely that they will choose the project first. If it's not suitable, then they move on to project B, C, or even D. And with such a behavior coming from a lot of consumer, right, there is a higher chance for the price to hold very well.
Okay, I understand about the oversupply. Another concern that most of the client will have for Zyon Grand is besides its service apartment already. So will these big competitors for the landlord in this project?
Yes, definitely, I hear you. One of the biggest setback is that a lot of people feel that for Zyon Grand, right, there is a service apartment. And for landlord, right, they are starting to be very worried because they always feel that service apartment will steal the tenants from them. But is it really true? Let's take a look. First thing first, for the rent category, I actually break down into 3 different categories for me personally. Short term, 1 to 10 days, usually we will stay in hotel. Hotel rates are the highest. I give an example of $650 per night. For mid-term stay, if I'm coming to Singapore for 1 to 3 months, and if I have the budget, I may go for service apartment. So service apartments in the mid-range, I will take an average of $7,000 per month. And of course, for long term, if I'm going to be here for 1 to 3 years due to relocation or even for my job, right, there's very likelihood I will rent a condo. And condo will have a lowest rental of $5,000 per month. So what does this actually mean to you? I can only say that the service apartment will already provide ready tenants. But of course, due to their term of stay, they may not be able to rent your condo. But think of it this way, if today the tenants here have decided to extend their stay in Singapore, maybe from 3 months to 1 year, and they find that the cost for service apartment is too high, will they actually look for condo instead? Will that actually drive up your rentability? This is a question that I ask myself. If today just 5% of the service apartment tenants are converts from short term to long term, will that actually drive up your rentability? And when rentability starts to drive up, will it actually create a higher price for your rental? That's the question.
And also like auntie like me, usually we will compare. So if let's say service apartment cost me like maybe 7K per month, for the condo side by side comparison, maybe cost me 5,000. I will feel that is a value. So I will really seriously think about the longer term of contract.
So my strategy for the landlords in Grand Zyon, be open for short-term lease. for example 3 to 6 months, because after the service apartment tenants decided to convert, right, very likelihood they may not sign 1 year straight away. They may try out for 3 to 6 months. And if you are able to provide this solution from them, right, they will definitely want to rent from you. And when they started to rent, right, slowly nurture them to become your long-term tenant. If they really like this place, they will stay longer, they will start to renew more and more often. That's where you are able to increase the price. Be open to accept different tenant profile. When you're able to accept different races, different jobs, profession, right, that's where you will be able to rent out the unit fast. So Jaylin, the next question that my friend asked me is that for Grand Zyon, right, it has a lowest land bid apart from all the launches in River Valley. So does it mean that they are going to buy very cheap?
I would say yes and no. First, let's look at how much CTL bought over this land at 1,002 PSF for this piece of land. So compared to surrounding land, this is considered really very cheap. Because opposite the River, the land price is sold at 1,007. But of course for this River is non-harmonization project, so we cannot do apple-apple comparison. If we were to compare apple to apple, the River Green just launched last month. The land price is sold at 1,004. So with this Zyon Grand land price at 1,002, will it sell cheap? So just like I mentioned, is yes and no. Usually people looking at this area, they will compare few projects. So first one is PP63, the other one is River Green. So for Promenade Peak, during launch that time, they are lowest PSF. For River Green, they achieved the lowest quantum in this area. I would say Zyon Grand is a bit hybrid. Why I say so? So first look at the PSF. I think the PSF for Zyon Grand will be higher than Promenade Peak. As we know, Zyon Grand is a hybrid project, which means combine residential and also service apartment. For service apartment, there's a very big upfront initial cost need to pay. But key thing is developer cannot sell the individual unit, but to hold and earn rental income. In order to break even, service apartment will take longer than normal residential. So I believe developer will lock some premium into the residential unit. That's why I think the PSF of Zyon Grand will be higher than Promenade Peak. But on the other hand, it will be lesser than River Green. The advantage of Zyon Grand is being a tall building that has 62 stories, which means developer can spread the floor premium more evenly across all the level. Compared to River Green only have 36 stories. So for example, if let's say both developers have set an average PSF achieved at 3,000 per square foot, they benchmark the highest floor at 3,006. So for Zyon Grand, because they have more level, so with same per floor level loading, potentially they can start with cheaper price as low as 2,007. Compared to River Green, because there is not a lot of floor to play with, they can only start higher.
So Grand Zyon potentially I will be able to get a lower per square foot.
Yeah, correct. But the lower per square foot is not as low as Promenade Peak, so I will say it's in between Zyon Grand. So we clear the PSF. The next thing we look at is the size. So for Promenade Peak, even though it's lower PSF, but they still come to high quantum because the size is relatively bigger. But compared to River Green, because the size is smaller, so result in higher PSF. As you can see, the Zyon Grand size actually is in between Promenade Peak and River Green. Potentially with this size mid-range, still able to achieve lower quantum. Lower quantum means lower whole price. So for 3-bedder also the same. The size is in between Promenade and also River Green. I quite like Zyon Grand layout because actually they cater for different group of people. Like they have smaller unit, cater for maybe HDB outgrader or smaller family, and bigger unit, bigger 3-bedder for bigger family or private outgrader. Just like I answer your question, so it's a yes and no. Yes, because maybe will be the lower quantum. No, it's not the lowest PSF amongst the projects around this area. So next topic we are going to cover is the layout analysis. For this project, there's 1-bedder up to 5-bedder. Today we will cover 1 to 4-bedder. So without further ado, let's just look at the 1-bedder layout. For the one bedder over here is 1 plus study, which means there is a study over here. So I would say this layout is more for investor. Another layout that investor can look at is 2 bedder. There is more layout for the 2 bedder. For the first type is 2 bed 1 bath, which is 538 square feet, followed by 2 bedder premium and premium plus study, which the size is 646 for the premium and 721 with another study. For the 2 bed 1 bath is so-called dumbbell layout, which don't have the wasted space for the walkway. And for this 2 bed 1 bath is so-called open kitchen. For the 2 bedder premium is more on typical layout, which means there is more privacy because there is this walkway, also followed by the kitchen. Then for the study, a bit different. This one is the L-shaped kitchen with study tucked at one side. So this one also dumbbell layout. But the key thing that we notice is the smaller 2 bedder and the biggest 2 bedder, the size difference is very big. This I'm going to cover next. So let's see. Overview here is our neighbor opposite our project. So we'll take it as example for rental. So we can see for rental in Overview Hill, the rental can go as high as 5,002, lowest can be 4,008, average 4,008 to 5,002. The size for Overview Hill 2 bedder, for 2 bed 1 bath is 614 square feet. For the 2 bed 2 bath is 667 square feet. The difference in size is about 53 square feet. So if let's say per square foot is about 3,000, the price difference compared to 2 bed 1 bath and 2 bed 2 bath is about 157k.
Meaning if I want to buy an additional toilet, I will need to pay 157,000.
Yeah, correct. Next, we look at Zyon Grand. So for Zyon Grand, the 2 bed 1 bath size is 538 square feet. The smaller 2 bed 2 bath is 646 square feet. So the size difference is about 100 square feet. Which also means if let's say we enter into a same PSF, potentially the price difference is 324k. So how will this impact our rental yield? Let's look at this example. For the above, this one is for the Overview Hill. Overview Hill just now mentioned the average is 4,008 to 5,002. So let's assume 4,008 is for 2 bed 1 bath. So per year rental is 57,000, and the purchase price, if let's say is based on 3,000 PSF, the price is 1.8. The rental yield is about 3%. Whereas for 2 bed 2 bath, we assume the 5,002 is for the 2 bed 2 bath. The rental per year is 62,000. Entry price is 1.998. The rental yield actually is similar, but let's use the same rental for Overview Hill and we apply it on the Zyon Grand. Let's also assume that 4,008 is the rental for 2 bed 1 bath and 5,002 for the 2 bed 2 bath. But the entry price, there's big gap over here. The gap is about 300k. The 2 bed 1 bath instead have higher rental yield in this sense.
So does it mean that I have to go for the smallest unit type over here in the 2 bedroom?
Not really. Even though the rental yield is slightly higher, but I will still suggest to go for 2 bed 2 bath because in long term 2 bed 2 bath is easier to exit next time. And also when come to rental, people will usually look at 2 bed 2 bath before they go for 2 bed 1 bath. So potentially, even though 2 bed 1 bath have higher rental yield, but may take longer time to sell in the future.
Now let's take a look at the layouts for the 3 bedroom. Let's compare between the 818 square feet compact 3 bedroom versus the 861 3 bedroom deluxe. The good thing about these two layouts is that fortunately all the rooms you are able to fit in a queen size bed, which is important in this area. The only big difference between these two is that one actually offers a open concept kitchen while the other offers a enclosed kitchen. I personally prefer the 3 bedroom deluxe more because over here we have an enclosed kitchen, and in this area there is schools, there is shopping mall. I would foresee there will be many HDB upgraders looking into this area, which means that when it's a family profile, they will prefer enclosed kitchen over the open concept kitchen. Next is our 3 plus study layout. One is the 1055 square feet and one is the 1076 square feet. This one has little difference, but if you were to just ask me where the difference is, right, I would say it's actually at the living area. The 1055 square feet layout has a shorter living as compared to the 1076 square feet layout. So my preference over these two units is that if today these two units, the price difference is more than 63k, I will go for the smaller 3-bed plus study.
Is it because when come to resell, actually from our eyes, you cannot see the difference?
Yes, because we are only looking at close to 21 square feet difference. So in terms of our eyes, right, 21 square difference is too small. But when it comes to the price, there is a difference. When we use 1076 minus 1055, we are easily looking at 21 square feet, and multiply by 3000 square feet, that works out to be 63k. My preference is that today, if it's more than 63k, I will go for the smaller one. If it's lesser than 63k, I will go for the bigger 3-bedroom plus study.
So it means that you can get the unit at cheaper PSF for the additional square foot.
Correct. Now we talk about the exit strategy for the 3-bedroom. So why is it so important to cover this part? A lot of analysis video, they only focus on the entry. Imagine today I am a 5-room BTO owner at 79 Dawson Road. The average price over there for a 5-room, right, has already reached 1.38 million. So to sell this 5-room at 1.38 million, minus away my purchase price. If you want to know the purchase price, you can try to Google it from the HDB website. The gross profit that I have will be 773,000. When I exit 4 years later, right, at a price of 3,005, I want to know whether can the next buyer actually buy from me. So for a quantum of 3 million, 25%, it will be 762,000. So you can see that at one glance, right, this figure, right, the seller for the 5-room BTO is actually able to buy my 3-bedroom at 3,005 per square foot at no additional cash top up. So two things why I share this exit strategy. First, it shows that in future, right, the 5-room BTO owner don't need to top up cash to buy my unit. Second, I have the potential to buy at 2,009 per square foot and sell at 3,000 per square foot. That is our exit strategy. Now let's take a look at the exit strategy for the 3 plus study. So same thing. Today, if I am a 3-bedroom EC owner, so 3-bedroom EC owner, if today you are watching this video, you can see that if today my selling price is 2 million versus my purchase price of 858, the gross profit that I'll have is 1.14 million. For a 3-bedroom plus study 1076 square feet, to sell at 3,005, right, the quantum is easily at 3.8 million. So 3.8 million, 25% down payment, that means that I will need 954,000 to buy this 3-bedroom at 3,005 per square foot. So you can see that being a 3-bedroom EC seller, right, the gross profit that I receive, I can actually buy over this 3-bedroom plus study with no cash top up.
But not all the EC have this kind of profit, right?
Of course, if today your gross profit is slightly lesser at 1 million or even 900k, let's say 900k, you may want to consider topping up 50 plus thousand to buy over this 3-bedroom for a better location. So now let's take a look at the layout for the 4-bedroom. So I would say those that is able to afford a 4-bedroom, definitely budget is not an issue to you, but we want to know what actually makes sense for you to buy into a 4-bedroom. So for the 4-bedroom, we have two types of layout. One is the 1421 square feet 4-bedroom premium with private lift. One is the 1518 square feet 4-bedroom supreme with private lift. The main difference between these two is first on the walk-in wardrobe. The bigger supreme layout comes with a bigger walk-in wardrobe. Next is the master toilet. So for the 4-bedroom premium, it comes with a standing shower, while the 4-bedroom supreme comes with a standing shower plus bathtub.
I think next question you want to ask me is which one I will go for.
Correct.
So as a woman, of course we like bigger walk-in wardrobe and also bathtub. But I just noticed, I went to another viewing and noticed actually the bathtub, there is movable one. For me, if I were to buy a 4-bedder, I will look at the entry price. So if the entry price, the price gap is very big, then actually I can install the bathtub myself. I don't need this bathtub.
Oh, I see. So how, the question here is that how do we determine, how do we see the entry price between these two to make our decision? So again, I will use this quantum, if let's say these two units, if it's more than 350k apart, I will choose the smaller 4. But if it's cheaper than 350k, right, then I will consider this bigger layout. Of course, this on the assumption that budget is not an issue for you. And how do we get this 350k? Simply, we just take 1518 minus 1421. The difference, we average out by 3000 per square foot. So it comes out to be 350k. So this 350k is a very important figure to determine whether should we go for the smaller 4 or the bigger 4. Okay, so with that, we have come to our analysis for Zyon Grand. I hope the audience here loved it.
If you like the analysis that we share about, please subscribe and like our video.
And if you have any other inquiries, do drop us a text to our phone and we will definitely get back to you.
I will see you next time.
See you. Bye-bye.